Is that red? Wait. It's so red in here, I can't tell what color my crown is. I think that's red. Is it? I'm pretty sure that's it. Hello, Citrine. Are you coming in to join us for the Crimson Queen? Hello. Hey, Julie. Hello, my lovely night dwellers. Pamela, Melanie, Rose. Hello. Hey, Palm. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Shirley. Hello, Kimberly. Hello, Diana. Hello, Andrew. Everybody, come on in. I'm going to have to turn a fan on. Oh, so much better. Oh. Hello, everyone. Hello, my name is Hero. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Shirley. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Rotten Savior. Hey, Peanut. Hey, boss man. What was that? That would be the cat. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Magic Moon. How are you feeling, dear? Tonight is Crimson Queen. Do you like vampires? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. It is Turtle Mom. Yes, Turtle Woman, it is. Someone said that too, that I was muffled badly. All right, let me go out and go back in. Probably something with TikTok, no doubt. Always something with TikTok. Let's try it again. What? Where are you? Citrine. There she is. I thought I heard you. Come here. It's okay. Mommy's got you. Mama's got you. Were you missing Mama? Huh? Were you missing Mama? What are you doing? Can you say hi? Can you say hi to everyone? Can you say hi? Yes, she's a good girl. You've wanted to be with Mommy all day. I'm here. I'm here. Yeah. Bad time to want affection. But everybody's enjoying seeing Citrine, aren't you? Yes, she's a good girl. Are you planning on taking a seat? Yes. Okay. All right. You can. You can sit there. Is it any better? Much? How is it, honey? Come here. Good? Okay. She just wants to be with me tonight. I have no idea. Hello. It's this chair. We are in a battle over who gets this chair. I am in her seat. That's what it is. Absolutely. Hello, Don Juan. Hello, my name is Cher. I'm battling my cat right now. Hey, Siamese. I have a story to read, not pay attention to you. Just sit. Can you just sit? Please. Sit. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone. Okay, come here. Come here. Sit in my lap and be still. Sit. Or not. Okay, out of my way. Oh my goodness. Hello, Cross Lady. I can't tell her what to do, that is for sure. She is just bound and determined to be with me tonight. And she has been like that all night, all day. Citrine, leave the music alone. No. No. Citrine, no. No. Sit. Just sit. There's enough room for both of us. You little diva. There. Just sit. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Hey, Zoe Ann. How are you? Ouch. Hello, beautiful girl. Hello, little beauty. Hey, Justine. Thank you all for coming back in. Apparently, there was some sort of a sound issue on TikTok. Ouch. Can y'all see her? She's very, very cute, but very her right now. She... Sit. What does it mean when a cat swishes their tail violently like that? There, now just sit. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Julie. Hello, Murph. Hello, X. So, she says hello, Tracy. So that was our guest for the evening. Who is ready for the continuation of the Crimson Queen? I must say, the writing today was very interesting. Let's make sure to. Okay. They do need to clean house, don't they? Oh, I know what she knocked over. She knocked over my chapstick, and now I can't find it. Great. Thank you so much, Citrine, for being places where you shouldn't be. Well, that's good to hear, Shirley. Definitely. Please start sharing the live with as many people as you can think of that you have on TikTok. 5 friends, 10 friends, 15, 20. Let's get the word out about Vampire Night. Tonight is not just any Vampire Night, it's Crimson Queen. And tonight is going to be very interesting. Welcome. My name is Bryn Morgan. I'm a horror author. I am also a teller of scary stories, paranormal stories, you name it, I tell them. Tonight is the continuation of Crimson Queen. Treachery grows close to the throne. Will Ella recognize the danger? First, let's enter into story time properly, shall we? Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light a candle. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. When we last left Crimson Queen, Callista had let her anger run away with her. How? By taking the sweet life, the energetic life, the vivacious life of Evangeline. And had to learn how to properly puppeteer her. Yes, necromancy in the Blackstone Kingdom. Tonight, the story continues. Are you ready? Let me see it in the comments. Hello, Severina. Rose, thank you for sharing the live. Hello, Renee. Hello, Emerald Dragon's Lair. Then let's begin. Kalitsa stepped back from the vanity, examining her work with a critical eye. The corpse stared back at her from the mirror, and for the first time since this nightmare began, Evangeline looked almost right. The golden curls had been arranged in an elaborate updo, woven with tiny white flowers and delicate ribbons. The makeup was subtle but effective. Rouge on the cheeks to mask the unnatural pallor. They were all vampires, but Evangeline had a ivory skin that was like porcelain, that looked like a porcelain doll. But now that she was officially unalived, there were these greenish veins that were beginning to show through her skin. She carefully applied lip color, a touch of powder to even out the skin tone and dull the green. The wedding gown fit perfectly now, every button fastened, every fold of silk draped just so. And the movements. Kalitsa was particularly proud of the movements. It had taken 3 hours, but she reached through the tether, testing. She made Evangeline's hand lift to touch one of the flowers in her hair, delicately, the way that Evangeline would have. The gesture was smoother now, more natural. Not perfect, but better. Hours of practice were paying off. Kalitsa stood back, smiled. The corpse lips curved upward. The smile was still too fixed, too unchanging, but it was getting there. She didn't think that anyone would recognize the difference. From a distance, up close, was a whole different matter. Say something, Kalitsa murmured. Tell me that you're happy. I'm so happy. The words emerged from Evangeline's mouth, and Kalitsa felt a surge of satisfaction. The inflection was right. That breathless, enthusiastic, sickening tone that the girl had used constantly in life, maybe a little too enthusiastic, but close enough. I can't believe I'm getting married today. The pitch was correct. The rhythm, natural. The voice sounded 98% like Evangeline. Kalitsa made the corpse stand, watching carefully as it rose from the vanity chair. The movement was fluid now, no longer jerky. She learned to anticipate the body's balance, to compensate for the stiffness in the joints, to make the motions look deliberate, rather than mechanical. Walk to the door and back, she said. The puppet obeyed, crossing the room with that bouncing gait Evangeline had been famous for. Not quite as energetic as the living girl had been, but recognizable, breathable. After all, It was her wedding day, and she would probably have exhibited some nerves. Kalitza then put her fingers to her forehead. No, she would not. She would have been excited and joyous and exuberant. Stop. Turn. Clap your hands together like you're excited. Now clap. The corpse stopped, pivoted smoothly, and brought its hands together at chest level in a gesture of delight. Yes, this could work. Kalitza felt the first real glimmer of hope that she'd experienced since unaliving the girl. She was getting better at this. She found with quick motions of her fingers that Evangeline was more joyful, would move quicker. She was getting better at this. The voice was right. The movements were improving now that she knew she could tether with her fingers too. 1 hour until the ceremony. 6 hours to maintain this illusion. If she could get through the wedding, the ball, the reception, if she could just... And then... Three sharp knocks echoed through the chamber. Kalitza's concentration wavered for just a second. Aunt Evangeline's arms dropped awkwardly to her sides before she called herself and reinstated the pose. Stand straight. Who is it? Kalitza called out, her voice carefully neutral. A pause, and then... Serafina. Every muscle in Kalitza's body tensed. That snake. The one who'd gotten her sent away from Blackstone Castle. The one who'd whispered in the Queen's ear. Who'd investigated and pried and ruined everything Kalitza had worked for. The one who'd smiled politely while orchestrating her exile. And now she was here, at the worst possible moment. Kalitza's hands clenched into fist at her sides, rage simmering beneath her carefully maintained composure. But she forced it down, buried it deep. She couldn't afford to let emotion control her. Not now. Not with this corpse standing in front of her and Serafina on the other side of the door. Just a moment, Kalitza called back, her voice tight. She grabbed the tether and blooded it with commands. Stand straight. Smile naturally. Look happy. Be Evangeline. Be her. Evangeline! Serafina's voice came through the door. May I come in? I'd like to speak with you. Kalitza looked at the corpse, at the carefully arranged hair, the painted face, the wedding gown. It would have to do. She had no other choice. Yes! Kalitza made Evangeline call out, keeping the voice bright. Yes, please come in. The door opened. Serafina stepped into the room, elegant in a deep blue gown, her dark hair perfectly styled. Her eyes immediately found Kalitza, and though her expression remained neutral, Kalitza could see the flash of recognition and distrust. Lady Kalitza, Serafina said quietly, I wasn't expecting to find you here. Kalitza was quick to reply. Evangeline needed help with her preparations. Her voice was carefully controlled despite the fury that was burning in her chest. She knew what Serafina was, knew what she'd done, and she despised her for it. Serafina's gaze moved to Evangeline, and her expression softened slightly. How are you feeling, darling? Before Kalitza could push the response through the tether, Seraphina's nostrils flared slightly, almost imperceptibly. She was scenting the air. Kalitza's stomach dropped. I'm wonderful, Evangeline said brightly, the words flowing through Kalitza's tether. So excited. Today is going to be so perfect. Kalitza couldn't help but thinking, did Evangelist say so much? So. Seraphina took a step closer, her head tilting slightly. Her eyes were scanning Evangeline's face. Her posture. Everything. The ladies in the preparation room mentioned you seemed unusual this morning. Celeste said you were acting strange in the corridor. Kalitza could feel the trap closing. This wasn't a social visit. Seraphina had come to investigate. Oh, I was just nervous. The sound carefully modulated through Kalitza's control. You know me. I get so worked up about everything. And just the fact of marrying my handsome lord, and the fact that he chose me to marry out of all these other women. I'm just excited. That's all. And perhaps a tad nervous. Seraphina moved closer still, circling slightly. Her nose wrinkled again at same subtle movement. She was smelling something. Something wrong. Nervous. Yes, I suppose you would be nervous on your wedding day, she repeated softly, her eyes never leaving Evangeline's face. I suppose I never saw you getting overly nervous about anything. Although you do seem much calmer now. Lady Kalitza helped me settle down. She had just married just a couple days ago, so she knows everything. God bless her with her husband passing away. Evangeline. Seraphina quietly admonished. She did have natural affection for the girl. Kalitza's been so kind. I do hope that you'll take that into consideration. She's very kind, and I am going to miss her terribly when she leaves Blackstone. Seraphina's eyes flicked to Kalitza for just a moment. Yes, and in that look was everything unsaid. I know what you are, Kalitza Veyron. I know that you are capable of terrible things. And I will find out what you've done. But when she spoke, her voice was perfectly pleasant. How generous of you, Lady Kalitza. The air in the room felt thick, oppressive. Kalitza could sense Seraphina's suspicion like a living thing, coiling and tightening around them. Evangeline, Seraphina said, her tone remaining gentle but probing. Tell me about your morning. Walk me through it. Kalitza's mind raced. She gripped the tether firmly, carefully pushing words through the corpse's throat. Well, I woke up early, Evangeline began, the voice steady and natural. I was too excited to sleep. I got dressed, in a simple gown first, not this one, and I went to the window, and I was very nervous, and I walked out in the hallway, and then I decided to go to Kalitza's bedroom, and I wanted to speak with her. She calms me so. Kalitza made the corpse gesture toward the window, the movement smooth. I talked to her about the ceremony. Evangeline continued. I got so overwhelmed I thought I might faint, and then, well, I did go to her, and she opened her door graciously to me, and I needed to do something, to move, to do something, and she took me for a walk through the corridor and talked to me and was kind. We stepped out onto the balcony, and I felt the snow fall on my face. Well, you've been busy, haven't you both? And what time were you in the corridor? Just after dawn, I think. I wasn't really paying attention to the time. I was so nervous. Do you want to know what I'm nervous about? Tell me. About marrying him. Wondering, will I be the perfect bride? Wondering, will I please him? Normal feelings for a young bride. And Lady Kalitsa just offered to help you. Yes, Evangeline said, warmth flooding her voice. She could see that I was distressed, and she offered to help me prepare. We came back here, and she's been wonderful, helping me into my wedding gown. Just look at what she's done with my hair. Isn't it lovely? The corpse touched the flowers in her hair gently, the gesture practiced and natural. Sabrina was still scenting the air. Her eyes had narrowed slightly, and Kalitsa could see her mind working, trying to identify what was triggering her instincts. Your skin is very pale today. Did you feed this morning? Seraphina observed. Oh, no, Lady Seraphina, I couldn't, Evangeline said with an embarrassed laugh. Too nervous. My stomach was in knots. Albeit after this ceremony, I want to look splendid for my lord. Seraphina took another step closer. Just checking. And you're feeling well. Perfectly fine. No dizziness. No weakness. This is a very important alliance, and you must be on your best behavior. Just excitement. Evangeline clasped her hands together, bouncing slightly on her toes. I keep thinking about him, about our future together. I do hope that what we have is as special as Queen Ella and Ian. Her voice caught with emotion, perfectly timed, perfectly executed. Oh, I'm just so happy, Seraphina. This is everything that I've wanted. Seraphina's expression softened for just a moment, but then her eyes shifted back to Kalitsa, and the warmth vanished completely. Perhaps you should come to the preparation room now, Seraphina said quietly. The other ladies are eager to see you. Oh, I'd love to, Evangeline said. Just let me gather my things. The corpse moved toward the vanity, reaching for a small clutch purse. The movement was natural, fluid. Seraphina was watching Kalitsa now. And Lady Kalitsa, I'm sure you will want to go back to your chamber and prepare for the wedding. This is what I'm going to wear. I promised Evangeline that I would stay by her side throughout the whole ceremony, through all the preparations. In the heavy silence, Kalitsa could hear it, could feel it. That sense of impending discovery, of walls closing in, of time running out. Seraphina knew that something was wrong. She just didn't know what. Not yet. The preparation room was full of excitement. The ladies in waiting gathered around the young bride. Celeste placed a veil of gossamer silk over Evangeline's face. Silence fell like a blade. A low horn sounded throughout the vaulted chamber and beyond Blackstone's walls. It is time, Evangeline. Are you ready to become a bride? Oh, yes, very much so. Calypso watched. Everything was perfectly tethered. As long as it went this way, it would never be discovered. The great oak doors groaned open, and crimson moonlight flooded the entryway in a wash of blood-red light. And out of the door walked the beautiful bride. The herald blew the trumpet again, and another herald proclaimed, Lady Evangeline Whitestone, bride of Lord Vaylane Dragor, come forward. Calypso's breath caught. Here we go. And then the dead girl appeared. Everyone stopped. She stepped into view with the grace of a winter spirit. Her gown a cascade of white silk and frost lace that shimmered beneath the crimson moon. She moved like something holy, something precious. If you looked close enough, something wrong. Calypso stayed a few feet back, behind a pillar, and coordinated everything. Evangeline's skin was pale as fresh snow, her eyes soft as candlelight, her movements fluid as water. She was perfect. Calypso guided each step through the silver tether binding them. One thought at a time, one breath at a time, one heartbeat that isn't there. The connection thrummed between them like a violin string pulled too tight, humming with the strain of keeping death upright and beautiful. In the front row, Queen Ella Snow's blue eyes, rimmed in red like fresh wounds, narrowed. Beside her, Ian leaned forward, his jaw tightening as he studied Evangeline. He leaned close. I figured she'd practically be skipping down the aisle, he murmured, his voice barely audible. Ella softly smiled. Seraphina's ageless face remained carved from marble, but her nostrils flared just once as the scent reached her. As Evangeline passed by, death. She could smell it beneath the perfume and the flowers. Nera stiffened beside Maylor. They sat on the front, her hand drifting toward the dagger hidden in her sleeve multiple times already. Something was wrong, something that she couldn't quite put her finger on. But Evangeline walked on, the perfect bride. Upon the raised obsidian platform stood Lord Vaylane Dragor, tall, elegant, ancient, centuries old. His coat was deep black velvet, embroidered with silver serpents that seemed to writhe in the torchlight. His hair, dark as raven's wings, fell loose across his broad shoulders. His garnet eyes glowed faintly in the cold, dark air, fixed on his approaching bride, with something almost tender. She had captured his heart from the first moment that he saw her. He had had many brides, but she excelled above them all. She made him smile. When Evangeline reached him, he extended his hand. A ripple of anticipation moved through the crowd. She placed her icy fingers into his palm. Valine's brow furrowed just slightly. "You are chilled, my lady?" Kalitsa's stomach twisted. "Keep it together." She forced Evangeline's lips to curl into a small, teasing smile. "I am always cold, my lord. We are vampires. We are creatures of the winter. Are we not?" Soft laughter rolled through the assembled nobles and ladies like wind through autumn leaves. Tension loosened. Shoulders relaxed. Kalitsa exhaled quietly through clenched teeth. But her heart hammered against her ribs like a prisoner trying to escape. She thought to herself, "He bolted. They all bolted." The officiant stepped forward, lifting a carved obsidian book. Its pages were inked with silver runes that shimmered and shifted in the torchlight, ancient words written in blood and starlight. "Lord Valine Dragor," the officiant intoned, voice echoing through the chamber, "do you stand before these witnesses to bind your immortal life to Lady Evangeline Whitestone?" There was a pause. Valine looked down at Evangeline. He looked at her with his ruby eyes, tilted his head. "I do." Valine's voice was rich and resonant, carrying the weight of centuries. "And do you swear to protect her, provide for her, honor her as your wife, until the crimson star fades from the sky?" "I swear it. As my true wife." Kalitsa, tethered to Evangeline, said, slightly giggle. She did it perfectly. The words hung in the air like a covenant sealed in stone. Silence fell, heavy, expectant. All eyes turned to Evangeline. What would Evangeline do now? Kalitsa thought. She would probably be breathless with excitement, her chest heaving. She tethered it. Make your chest heave up and down. Gasp excitedly. All eyes turned to Evangeline. Kalitsa's fingers dug into the fabric of her dress so hard her nails threatened to pierce the cloth. This is it. This is the moment that it all goes through, or it all falls apart, and I am ripped apart by other vampires. The officiant turned to the bride, his expression solemn. Lady Evangeline Whitestone, he intoned. Do you stand before these witnesses to bind your immortal life to Lord Valine Dragor? A heartbeat. 2. Breathe. Excitedly. Smile. Giggle. Oh my goodness. breathe. Don't act silly. Kalitza pushed through the tether. Evangeline's pale lips parted. Ah, I do. Perfect. Say it again. I do. Soft. Steady. Kalitza nearly sagged with relief, but forced herself to remain rigid. But it wasn't done yet. Not done yet. Do you swear, the officiant continued, his voice rising, to be faithful to him, to honor his house, to join your fate to his for all your endless nights? Evangeline's voice came again, each word shaped carefully by Kalitza's desperate focus. I swear it, with my life, with my blood, with all that I am. Oh, I'm just so happy! A murmur rimmed through the crowd along with laughter. Beautiful words, spoken flawlessly. She was an overly excited bride, as all imagined Evangeline Whitestone would be. But in that front row, Seraphina stiffened, her ancient instinct screaming warnings that she couldn't quite name. Queen Ella's fingers tightened on the armrest of her throne, knuckles going white, her blue eyes rimmed in that telltale red, burned with suspicion. Ian's silver eyes sharpened, studying every micro-expression, every tiny movement. He leaned forward to his queen. What is it? Something's not right. Something is definitely not right. What do you mean? But no one could deny that the vows were perfect. No one could prove that anything was wrong. Valine lifted Evangeline's hand for the ceremonial ribbon, his touch reverent and tender. He leaned down to where only he and his bride could hear his words. I look forward to tonight, being with you. Kalitza's lashes fluttered. What do I say? Say me too. Giddy, like a girl. Me too. My husband. And with that, the red silk ribbon unfurled like a living serpent, curling around their wrist in an ancient pattern older than memory. The fabric glowed faintly as it tightened around Valine and Evangeline's wrist, binding them together in the sight of gods and witnesses. When Valine traced his thumb across Evangeline's palm, he paused. His eyes flickered to her face. You tremble, he whispered. Damn it, Kalitza thought. And then she tethered to Evangeline again. She pushed a breath into Evangeline's chest, a soft, fluttering inhale. I am simply overcome, my lord. The words came out breathy, emotional. It was just the most perfect wedding. So perfect. Valine's expression softened and he smiled, and Kalitza wanted to scream. Then by vow and blood, the officiant declared, raising his arms to the crimson sky. You are bound, Lord and Lady Dragor. May your marriage be eternal. Valine turned to his bride. Kalitsa's pulse spiked, her heart hammering so loud she was certain someone would hear it. This was it, the final test. The kiss. She braced herself. Valine lowered his head. He took his fingers and put them beneath Evangeline's chin, slightly lifting it. Their eyes met. You are the most beautiful woman in this kingdom. Kalitsa rolled her eyes. Just get on with it. I'm going to kiss you now. For the love of gods, please do, Kalitsa thought. Please, Evangeline said. He lowered his lips and touched hers. The kiss was gentle, lingering, like he truly wished to know her, to understand the woman he just bound himself to for eternity. Disgust crawled up Kalitsa's spine like spiders made of ice as she read his thoughts. He was thinking of her. But she held tethered perfectly still. Not a twitch, not a tremor, just a kiss. Just one more second. It was perfect. It was soft. It was natural. And then the kiss broke. Cheers erupted through the courtyard like thunder, shaking the very stones. The crimson moon shone brighter. The red snow fell harder, swirling around the newly bonded pair like ash from a funeral pyre. And Kalitsa's arms shook as she released some of the tension, barely keeping Evangeline upright, barely keeping herself conscious. I did it. I actually did it. The corpse bride was now Lady Evangeline Dragor. That was sweet, you have to admit it. As Valine guided Evangeline toward the steps for the ceremonial procession, Kalitsa whispered one final command through the silver link. Smile. You are the happy bride. I know, the kitty break. A very special guest. Kalitsa whispered one final command through the silver link. Smile. Evangeline's lips curved sweetly, warmly, eerily. The crowd adored the new couple. Nobles bowed as they passed. She would nod and laugh. Servants wept with joy at the beauty of the union. Evangeline had everyone's heart, including the Queen and Ian. They walked up to the queen now. Bow gracefully, curtsy, Kalitza said from a distance. And Evangeline bowed and curtsied to the queen. Congratulations on your happy union, Evangeline. Lord Dragor, take care of her. She is precious to our court. I will, Your Majesty. Thank you for this union. Thank you for alliance with my family. You are most welcome, my lord. Now, I believe that we are off to the festivities. Yes, my lady. My queen. Your Majesty. She bowed to Ian. Lady Evangeline Dragor, congratulations. Thank you. Queen Ella watched them walk away. Her blue eyes rimmed in red, boring into the bride like she could see straight through the illusion. But she just could not figure it out. She was married now. The alliance had been sealed. So why was worry nagging at her so strongly? And Seraphina, her eyes were narrowed to slits. Her jaw was locked tight, hands folded too tightly in her lap, knuckles bone white. Nera walked up to Seraphina. My lady, do you sense it too? Yes, I do. What do you think it is? They watched the couple walk away. I smell death. Yes, I do too. Do you think the Queen does? I don't know. I don't know. One thing was for sure. Seraphina knew death when it walked, even when no one else did. Even if she couldn't prove it. Not yet, at least. But her eye was on Evangeline, and her eye was on Kalitza. And high above, hidden in the shadowed rafters, Nixroth perched like a gargoyle of judgment, his glowing red eyes fixed on Ella's silent, turquoise-eyed owl across the courtyard. 2 spies, 2 queens, 2 wars brewing beneath the crimson moon. The wedding was over. At least, the ceremony was. But the real game had just begun. Crimson snow drifted past the towering windows of Blackstone Castle, each flake glowing like falling embers beneath the eternal blood moon. The great hall shimmered with torchlight and candle fire, the air thick with roasted meats, perfumed oils, and the silvery hum of violins. At the far end of the room, beneath garlands of winter roses and black silk, stood Valine Dragor, tall and elegant, his obsidian hair tied back with a blood-red ribbon, and beside him stood his new bride, Evangeline, her pale hands folded perfectly, her eyes glassy, yet serene. Kalitza watched from across the hall. Everything depended on her now. The tether between the two was strong, necromantic, invisible, quivering. The tether was stretched tight inside her skull, like a thin silver cord thrumming with borrowed life, Evangeline's every blink, tilt of the head, every demure smile, all required Kalitsa's absolute and total concentration. But so far, it was working. The guest murmured admiringly. Even Valen's cold expression had softened as he held his bride's fingers. Kalitsa hid her satisfaction behind a jeweled goblet of blood wine. The raven Nixbroth perched high in the rafters, watching the hall with burning red eyes, ready to shriek a warning if her tether slipped. For now, Evangeline moved beautifully. Valen led his bride out onto the floor. Her footsteps were graceful, silent, and controlled. They did the couple's dance, and it was splendid, breathtaking. Evangeline's white gown swirling out around her as Valen turned her in his arms. They looked up at each other. No one would know that he was dancing with a corpse. She allowed herself one breath of triumph. And then a voice drifted behind her shoulder. Lady Veyron, Her Majesty requests your presence at her table. Kalitsa froze. Slowly she turned her head to see Lady Celeste standing behind her. Ella's sharp-eyed attendant bowing politely, the only one that was not married. Her expression was unreadable. Kalitsa's fingers tightened around her goblet. With her other hand beneath the table, she was making Evangeline put on quite a beautiful show on the floor. Her jewels dug into her palm, a direct summons from the Queen. She barely turned and looked at Lady Celeste, and her voice was clipped. Now, while she was tethering a corpse through a banquet, making sure that she danced with Valen, her throat tightened. She glanced across the hall. Evangeline danced perfectly, and then they came to a stop, and she and her new husband sat down, serene as a portrait, at the banquet table. How far away was Queen Ella? She looked. Quite a distance. Further than she had been at the ceremony from Evangeline. She might be able to hold the tether if she didn't stray too far. But she couldn't help but be nervous. Why did this have to happen now? She turned. I will be there shortly. Thank you. She expects you now, my lady. And I will be there shortly. Should have been her that she drained all of her blood instead of the pathetic Evangeline. She paused for 2 minutes and continued to watch. Valen then had Evangeline to stand, and they were greeting the nobles. She heard quick footsteps and eyes burning into her back. She turned. Queen Ella sat on her throne with her head tilted, watching her. And then there came Celeste again, but this time her footsteps were hurried. Lady Veyron, the Queen requests your presence at her throne now. Very well. She rose with impeccable grace, smoothing her hair. lead the way. But as Kalitza took a single step toward the Daae, she felt it. A tug in her mind. A tiny slackening. A tiny, faint, sickening wobble. She inhaled sharply through her nose. Hold. 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 Don't feel me. Smile. Breathe. Laugh. She inhaled sharply again through her nose and watched Evangeline as she blinked and smiled. Naturally. Bailey looked at his wife. Are you all right? Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Just a bit tired. Shall we sit? No, we have to stand. We have to welcome our guest. Kalitza focused hard. Smile. Breathe. Evangeline answered with perfect imitation of warmth. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. Good. She was still holding. Kalitza continued to walk away toward the Queen. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Kalitza followed Lady Celeste up the long torchlit steps toward Queen Ella Snow and Ian. But with every step, she could feel it. The tether, stretching, thinner, tighter, trembling like an overwound string that was ready to snap at every moment. The violins played on. The dancers circled on the floor. Evangeline lifted her hand to her new husband's arm, and her wrist bent at an angle that was almost natural. Almost. A few nearby guests were speaking and talking. Kalitza had bits of the conversation. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she began to climb the steps to the Queen. Lady Veyron. A lovely wedding, indeed? Yes, Your Majesty. She bowed a low curtsy to the Queen and her husband, but her eyes were not on the Queen. They were directed to look at Evangeline. Steady, steady, she thought beneath her breath. Sweat gathered beneath her sleeves, cold and slick. Her breath came too fast, too sharp. Smooth your movements, girl. Smile. Tilt your head. So, you leave in 2 days' time. I am sure that you are excited about your new holdings. Smile. Tilt your head. Did you hear me? Lady Kalitza, I am addressing you. Yes, Your Majesty. It is a lovely wedding indeed. Ian looked at Kalitza. That is not what your queen said. I'm sorry. Ella's blue eyes, rimmed in red, cold and perceptive, watched her with a serene but calculating calm. It's been a long day for all of us. We'll attribute you not answering my question to that. Seraphina stood to the Queen's left, like a carved statue, her ancient eyes fixed on something across the hall. Nero lingered behind them, tense, her fingers drumming against the hilt of her concealed blade. She was not the same since she had been having those dreams. The dreams of the queen, covered in blood, screaming, wrapped in chains on an altar in a dark cave. I'm sorry, Your Grace. Yes, it has been a very long day. You know how exhausting that Evangeline is, and, well, she wanted me to help her throughout this whole time. I believe that she was very nervous. Lady Veyron, Ella began, completely ignoring her, her voice smooth as silk over still. We must discuss the estates. Kalitsa barely heard her. She was watching the girl. Something was wrong. Something was slipping. She could feel it. Down on the banquet floor, Evangeline stood utterly still. Too still. Baleen leaned closer to her, whispering something that Kalitsa could not hear from this distance. Kalitsa swallowed hard. Ella continued speaking, calm as winter ice. Have you decided on your new lands? Which one that you will occupy? Which residence that you will take? Regardless of which one you choose, I will leave that up to you. They will require your immediate attention. Yes, of course, Your Grace. What has your attention that you do not have mine? Nothing, Your Grace. Did you hear what I said? Yes. And you are packed. Because you leave in 2 days' time. There was movement. Jerky. Unnatural. Smile. Nod. Shake your head. Giggle. Kalitsa's stomach dropped. Speak. Speak. Oh, I am so happy. So happy. No, the tether was breaking. The tether was breaking. Lady Kalitsa, I asked you another question. Yes, my lady. Yes. Kalitsa was watching Evangeline begin to fall apart. Let's take an intermission, and when I come back, I will continue the reading of The Crimson Queen. I do hope that you are enjoying it. I'll be right back. I am just turning on the light for what is about to happen here. This is The Haunting of Hastings House. And this book is getting ready to be signed by me, autographed, for a very special member of our audience. Michelle, are you present? Just let me know if you are in here. I want you to be present. Michelle, you don't see her? Oh no. Michelle. Okay. Awesome. So, I see your comments. Kalitza's something else, isn't she? Oh, Shirley, that would be a good birthday present for you. That's all right. We will just move it to if she's here Monday night. Or Tuesday night, sorry. That's all right. It's here. It's waiting. I've got my pen. There she is. Yes, she is. She is walking on ice. I honestly have to say, when I was writing that part, I was laughing because Kalitza just thinks that she has so much control, that she has so much power, and she is finding out that she doesn't, that she's not all she thinks she's cracked up to be. Anyway, Michelle, are you gonna come up in the box, dear? I know, Pastelina, I know. All right, as soon as I see you, I'll let you come on in. And everyone saw my kitty cat guest, I guess. There we are. Hello, Michelle. Let me turn this down slightly so I can hear you. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good.
Good. I have your book.
Yes.
I have your book, and I want to thank you for purchasing it. Thank you so much. I hope that you enjoy this. This was my baby. This was my first, and it is always going to have a very special place in my heart. I'm going to learn how to switch the mirror to where everyone can see everything the way it's supposed to be. But this is the book, The Haunting of Hastings House. And I am getting ready to autograph this for our lovely night dweller, Michelle. It is always a pleasure to see you in the audience. So, question. There you are.
Yes.
You are lovely. You are lovely. Do you want me to sign the front, or would you like me to sign the back? Okay. And is there any particular thing that you want me to say?
Nothing particular.
Okay. I will put something special in it myself then.
There you go.
All right. It is done. It is signed.
You.
You are most welcome, and I will be getting that out to you shortly. Okay?
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. I was so, because I said, Michelle, and they were like, she isn't here. And I'm like, no! But you are, and we got it done. And thank you so much again for purchasing the book. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I love watching and running right with you. So
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Were you believing what Kalitza is up to tonight?
Oh man, she's quite the character.
It's about to get better.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle.
Well, thank you.
You're most welcome. Most welcome. All right, everyone. So Michelle got her autographed book signing, and how long do we have until the story starts back? Are you able to get out, Michelle? There you
I'm
go.
trying.
You're good. Not a problem.
I don't know how.
There should be, I think there's some place down at the end where it says leave or something. Someone told
Oh,
me.
just
I don't know.
disconnect. Disconnect.
Yes. There we go. There we go. So let me turn the lights off again and get us back into story mode. One moment. This has definitely been a character that I have really enjoyed exploring. There is no one like Kalitza. she's unique, but you also there's also a place where she was scorned, and has been through so much, and she's just trying to do everything that she can to survive. And so there's a part of me that is always, that is like, she's trying to push her way forward. Not in the best way, but she is trying. Is it time? Thank you, Melanie. Let me get another sip of water. Believe it or not, I am battling another head cold and just pushing through it. Welcome back to Twisted Tales Live and the continuation of the Crimson Queen. Lady Kalitza, do Did you hear me? Lady Kalitsa heard nothing, because down on that banquet floor, Evangeline stood utterly still. Too still. Valine leaned closer to her, whispering something that Kalitsa could not hear from this distance. Kalitsa swallowed hard. Ella continued speaking calm as winter ice. Your new lands require immediate attention. Movement. Jerky. Unnatural. Kalitsa's stomach dropped. Evangeline twitched. Barely perceptible, but wrong. Her head cocked too sharply to the right. Guest turned. Someone frowned. Kalitsa's breath hitched. Ella was still talking. Your presence as Lady of House Veyron, Ella was saying, her blue eyes still fixed on Kalitsa's face, and I expect your full cooperation in... Another twitch. Kalitsa turned her head. A falter. A slight stagger. Stand upright. Bend your elbow. Valine reached for Evangeline's elbow, concern creasing his brow. Kalitsa's vision blurred with panic. Laugh. Ah! No, no, no! More cheerful, joyful. The tether was not working. What was going wrong? Move smoothly. Breathe. Say something. Smile. Just smile. Evangeline smiled, but it was wrong. Too wide. Too stiff. Too frozen. Kalitsa's eyes widened as she glanced past someone toward the floor below. Seraphina's nostrils flared and her jaw tightened. The stench of death was strong. Ella's voice trailed off as she followed their collective gaze downward. Just at that moment, Evangeline's knee buckled. Valine tried to hold on to her. Her heel grated against marble. Her fingers spasmed. The violin screeched to a halt. The entire hall went silent. One lady said, She's putting on a show for us. She looks like a puppet. The entire hall went silent. Kalitsa stood frozen on the dais, her face a perfect mask of polite confusion, even as terror clawed at her throat. She didn't dare whisper, didn't dare move. Stop. 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 Listen to me. Hear my voice. She tried to tether to her, and at that moment, Evangeline's head snapped sharply. But her neck turned too far, like a joint forced beyond its limit, like a doll twisted by cruel hands. Gasp rippled through the crowd. A lady near the front fainted into her companion's arms. What's wrong with her? Someone shouted for the guards. Valine stepped forward, hand outstretched. My love, what is wrong? Her body jolted. Once, twice, then it began. Slowly, at first, as if she was hearing all of Kalitsa's commands at once. Overkill. Her body twisting, her arms trembling, a slight circular motion in her feet as if pulled by invisible strings. I'm so happy. Is she fainting? What is going on? Someone whispered urgently, but the motion grew sharper, faster, more frantic. Evangeline's limbs jerked outward like a marionette whose puppeteer had gone mad. Kalitsa's knees trembled on the dais, but she forced herself to remain perfectly still, her expression one of shocked horror, just like everyone else's. Hold it together, Evangeline. Don't let them see. Don't let them know. Smile. Laugh. Ha 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 ha! No, she whispered under her breath, so quietly only Nyx Roth could have heard. Oh, God, no! The spinning intensified. Her gown fanned out in a grotesque, beautiful arc, white silk and frost lace, catching the crimson light like a moth spiraling toward flame. Her hair whipped around her face, her updo fell down, her jaw hung slack, as if the muscles no longer understood how to hold it closed. Guests screamed and moved out of her way. Nobles stumbled backward. Valine reached for her and was flung aside by a sudden violent jerk of her arm that sent him crashing into a banquet table. Then, as if seized by a demonic gale, Evangeline turned toward the great stained glass window across the floor. Her spinning grew violent, manic, horrifically uncontrolled, and her mouth opened, not to speak, but to laugh. A shrill, high, broken laugh that spiraled through the vaulted hole like the shriek of something dragged out of hell itself. The sound echoed off stone and glass, inhuman and terrible. Kalitsa's vision dimmed. Her body swayed ever so slightly, but she caught herself against a pillar, forcing her expression to remain one of pure shock. Her tether had fully snapped. She knew it now, fully, completely, irrevocably. Gods! Ella shouted, rising from her throne, her blue eyes blazing with fury and command. What is this? Ian moved instantly, drawing his blade as he leapt from the dais. But it was too late. Evangeline spun, shrieking that awful broken laughter toward the windows. Her dead feet hammered the marble in a grotesque rhythm. Her momentum built like a storm gathering force. Valine lunged for her, but missed by inches. Evangeline crashed into the stained glass. The ancient window depicting the first vampire queen, crowned beneath a blood moon, exploded outward in a roar of shattering crystal. Shards burst into the night like 1,000 crimson stars, and with a final, sickening whirl, the puppet bride plunged from the high balcony. Down, 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 through the falling crimson snow, before striking the stone courtyard below with a brutal, echoing crack that silenced the entire castle. No one breathed. No one moved. The violins had gone silent. The dancers stood frozen like statues on the floor. Valine stared at the broken window, his face pale as death itself, his hand still outstretched toward where his bride had only been moments before. Seraphina's ancient eyes burned with a cold understanding. Ella's jaw was set, her blue eyes rimmed in red, narrowed dangerously as she surveyed the whole. Ian stood with his blade drawn, scanning the room for threats, for answers. And Kalitsa? Kalitsa stood perfectly still on the dais, her hand pressed to her throat in a gesture of shock and horror that matched every other noble in the room. Her face was a mask of dismay. Her eyes were wide with apparent disbelief. But inside her mind was screaming. No one saw. No one knows. Not yet. High in the rafters, Nyxros's red eyes gleamed, and he called. And across the courtyard, perched on the snow-covered battlement, Ella's white Almina watched the broken body below with unblinking turquoise eyes. 2 spies. 1 queen, and 1 queen promised, and a secret that had just become infinitely more dangerous. The game had changed, and Kalitsa was playing now for her life. One moment. Oh, so much better. Had to put some chapstick on these dry lips. Snow, the color of spilled wine, drifted through the shattered stained glass arch, settling like crimson ash over the courtyard below. Each flake caught the torchlight as it fell, glowing like tiny embers against the darkness. The wedding banquet had collapsed into chaos, shrieks ricocheting off vaulted ceilings, gasps choking in aristocratic throats, chairs overturned in the stampedes toward the windows. Evangeline's broken body lay sprawled on the stone far beneath. Her neck was twisted at an impossible angle. Her eyes were open, glassy, staring at nothing. Her white gown spread around her like wings. Not a single drop of blood marked the stones beneath her. And Seraphina noticed that. Why was there no blood? Well, because Calypso had drained her of every drop just a couple days before. Balain Dragor, her new groom, her husband of less than an hour, was taking flight out of the window and landed on the ground with a thud, his black cape snapping behind him like raven's wings, yelling her name with desperate, anguished disbelief. Evangeline! Evangeline, no! His voice cracked on the second cry. Guests crowded the railings and windows, their faces pressed against cold stone, staring down into frozen horror at the crumpled, beautiful bride below. Women sobbed. Men cursed. Servants stood paralyzed, unsure whether to run toward the body or away from it. Up on the dais, Calypso Veyron stood beside Queen Ella Snow, Ian, Seraphina, and Nera in the background, her fingertips trembling against the silk of her gown, her throat thick with the beginning of a growl she dared not let escape. Her face was a perfect mask of shock, because she was shocked. Horror, dismay. But beneath, something else began to stir. Something ancient. Something hungry. And then it hit her. The blood rage. It started as a whisper of discomfort in her lower belly, a flutter, a twist, and then suddenly exploded into a deep, tearing hunger that ripped up through her abdomen like claws scraping the inside of her womb. Calypso's breath hitched. Her hand flew to her stomach. She thought desperately, "No, not now, not here." The unborn child stirred, ravenous, demanding. The sensation was like being hollowed out from the inside, like every vein in her body had suddenly realized it was empty and was now screaming to be filled. Her vision blurred at the edges, the torchlight smearing into streaks of gold and red. or roaring like a storm trapped inside her skull, like the ocean crashing against cliffs, filled her ears until she could barely hear the chaos around her. Heat flooded her face. Her skin felt too tight, too hot, stretched over bones that suddenly ached with the violence she'd never experienced. A hot line of blood slid from one nostril. She felt it before she saw it, the warm trickle across her upper lip. This is not the time for you to do this. Another followed from the other side. Her green eyes darkened, the gray drowning as violet red threads spread through the whites of her eyes like cracks in ice. Lady Veyron, Ella's voice cut through the fog. Kalitza tried to turn her head, tried to focus on the Queen's face, but another wave of pain crashed through her, sharper this time, deeper. And she doubled over slightly, catching herself against the edge of the dais. Ella stepped closer, her blue eyes studying Kalitza with sharp, calculating intensity. Lady Veyron, you are bleeding from your nose. What's wrong? Kalitza tried to swallow, tried to stand upright, tried to force the hunger back down into the pit where it belonged, but the pain erupted again. A violent convulsion that tore through her core and bent her forward with a strangled, choking cry. Her knees buckled. She collapsed onto the marble steps, one hand clutching her abdomen, the other braced against the cold stone to keep from falling completely. Blood dripped from her nose onto the pristine white marble, bright red drops that spread like tiny blooming roses. She heard a terrible voice inside her brain then. A cackling, dark, evil, sinister voice. A whisper that grated on her very nerve. I could smell the smoke threading through her mind. You fool. Get to your chamber. Now! Leave them! Go! Kalitza tried to push herself upright, tried to back away from the dais, but her legs wouldn't obey. Her muscles spasmed, her vision sparked white at the edges. Ian shot to his feet so fast, his chair toppled backward with a crack. They made several guests jump. Someone get the Queen's physician! Now! He barked, his voice cutting through the hole like a blade. A guard rushed forward, his boots echoing on marble as he dropped to one knee beside Kalitza, reaching for her arm to steady her. Ella stepped closer, her voice slicing through the chaos with the precision of someone who commanded storms. Lady Veyron, what is wrong with you? Look at me! Kalitza couldn't. She couldn't lift her head, couldn't speak. You stupid girl. All she could hear was Morwent's voice. Her mouth opened, but only a rasp of pain escaped, raw and animal and desperate. Her eyes filling now completely with blood, drowning in crimson as the blood rage consumed her from the inside out, just as it had with Evangeline. More blood smeared down her lips, down her chin, dripping onto her gown in dark, spreading stains. The guard tried to lift her upright, though she sagged in its grip like a puppet whose strings had been cut. They know now. They know! The court fell deathly silent. Even the sobbing stopped. Everyone stared at the necromancer bleeding on the Queen's dais. The physician arrived breathless, his robes billowing as he pushed through the circle of onlookers. He was an older vampire, gray-haired and sharp black-eyed, with the steady hands of someone who had seen centuries of suffering. He knelt before Kalitsa, tilting her face toward the torchlight with gentle but firm fingers. No! No, leave me alone! You are going to die and be ripped apart by vampires! You stupid girl! You couldn't even do that! Her eyes were now completely red, her trembling abdomen, the thin streams of blood still flowing from her nose. She wiped it away with her hand. She looked aside. His eyes widened, his breath caught. My lady, is this the first time that you've experienced this? Answer him, Queen Ella commanded. You stupid fool, Morwenth said. Her eyes widened, bloody and red. Her breath caught. Yes, once. The physician put his hand to her stomach, and then he reared back. Incredible, he whispered, barely audible. Ella stiffened, her posture sharpening like a blade drawn. What is it? The physician looked up slowly, even as he pressed his palm to Kalitsa's abdomen, his voice unsteady with something between awe and alarm. My queen, Lady Veyron. Lady Veyron, what? She is with child. The words hung in the air like a spell freshly cast. A ripple of shock swept through the hall. Gasp, whispers, hands flying to mouths. Ella blinked once, slowly processing. That's impossible. She was only just married 2 days ago. The physician stood up, wiping the blood off his fingers. He nodded his head, agreeing softly, still staring at Kalitsa, laying on the floor, with absolute fascination in his eyes. Yes, my queen, but vampire pregnancies are not conceived as mortal ones are. In all truth, Ella was thinking about human pregnancy. She hadn't been a vampire all that long, not as long as everyone else in the court was. She listened. They're not conceived as mortal ones are, Your Majesty. They take root long before a vampire even knows she's carrying life. Sometimes months before the first signs appear. Vampires are carried longer than a human. And the signs that she displays now, her eyes completely overtaken by red, the spontaneous bleeding, the violent abdominal seizing. Another one ripped through Kalitsa at that moment. He lifted Kalitsa's chin again, tilting her face so the torchlight caught the crimson bloody in her irises. This is called blood rage. It only appears when a vampire mother is pregnant and the child is beginning to feed. The hunger is extraordinary, uncontrollable. It can drive even the most disciplined vampires to madness, if not managed carefully. Ian's voice dropped to a dangerous growl, his silver eyes narrowing. And you are certain of this? Beyond any doubt, sire. The physician released Kalitsa's chin and rose, stepping back to give her space. I've only seen it a few times in centuries. The ones that do manage to come forth, they are powerful. Very powerful. Kalitsa forced her trembling body to straighten, though her knees nearly buckled again. She gripped the edge of the dais with white-knuckled fingers, sweat dampening her temples despite the winter cold. Blood still streaked her mouth, dripping down her chin in thin riblets. Her breath came in shallow gasps. Every muscle in her body screamed for blood, for life, for something to sate the terrible, gnawing emptiness inside her. But she held. She held. My queen, she rasped, the words shaped by agony, dragged up somewhere from deep inside her chest. May I please be dismissed to my chambers? Her voice was raw, broken, desperate. She looked genuinely overwhelmed, genuinely stunned. The perfect performance of a woman learning she carries a child that she didn't know existed. Ella took a slow breath, her blue eyes still studying Calypso with that piercing, unreadable intensity. She glanced at Ian. He had nothing to say. And Seraphina, whose ancient face remained carved from stone. And Nera, whose hand had drifted instinctively toward the concealed blade at her hip, but did not move. Finally, she looked back at Calypso. Yes, she said, her voice softer now, though no less commanding. Go rest. We will speak again when you have steadied yourself. Calypso managed a weak bow, her dark hair falling over one shoulder in disheveled waves. The guards moved to help her, but she pushed him away with a trembling dignity, determined to walk under her own power. She would not be carried from this hole like something broken, not in front of them, not in front of anyone. She turned slowly, each step deliberate despite the way her legs shook, despite the way her vision swam with red and gold. Pregnant, Ella whispered. Ian, Seraphina, and Nera watched her go, bleeding, staggering, trembling, each of them thinking variations of the same thought. Something is terribly wrong. Calypso crossed the threshold of the great hall, one hand pressed flat against her abdomen where the child stirred and fed, blood still dripping down her lips in slow, steady drops. She disappeared into the shadowed corridor beyond. The torchlight swallowed her, and in the darkness, where no one could see, Calypso smiled. Why? Because she could hear Ella, Ian, speaking. If she is pregnant with Lord Veyron's child, I think she should stay here. I don't think she should go. I think we should keep an eye on her. Ian nodded. Calypso smiled again. A slow, satisfied, victorious smile. Blood stained her teeth. Her eyes glowed crimson in the shadows. Behind her, chaos still reigned in the great hall. She had not heard Morin's voice in a few moments. She hurried to her chambers as fast as she could. And far below in the courtyard, Vaylane Dragor knelt beside his bride's broken body and wept. The corridors of Blackstone Castle swayed around Khalid Veyron as she hurried up the stairs. Her breath came in thin, sharp pulls, ragged and desperate like someone drowning on dry land. Her vision pulsed red with every heartbeat, the torchlight smearing into bloody streaks along the stone walls. Every step felt like walking on fractured bone. Her own bones splintering from the inside out under the weight of the hunger consuming her. Behind her, the chaos continued to rage. Evangeline's unnatural fall, the shattered stained glass, Vaylene's anguished screams echoing up from the courtyard below. The stunned whispers rippling through the assembled nobility like poison through veins. But all of it blurred into nothing under the roar filling Kalitsa's skull, a roar like 1,000 voices screaming for blood, for life, for sustenance. Blood. The hunger slammed through her in waves, tightening her abdomen until she almost folded in half against the corridor wall. Her fingers clawed at the cold stone, nails scraping and splitting as she fought to stay upright. Her unborn child wanted to feed. It demanded it. She managed to make it to her chamber. She quickly walked in, slammed the doors behind her, and locked them. And at that moment, Morwen's voice slithered through her mind like a fevered wind, cold and sharp as broken glass. Foolish girl, you have exposed yourself. Kalitsa gripped the wall harder, her nails leaving faint scratches in the ancient stone. Her crimson-shot eyes blinked violently, trying to clear the red haze with the cloth, trying to focus on putting one foot in front of the other. She forced herself upright, staggering forward toward the mirror. The wetness under her nose dripped warm onto her upper lip, blood streaking down her chin in thin riblets that tasted of copper and desperation. She didn't dare wipe it away. Her entire body burned from the inside out, every nerve ending screaming, every vein feeling like it had been carved hollow and set aflame. Move! Morwen hissed, the voice pressing against the inside of Kalitsa's skull like fingers digging into soft flesh. Move now! You must leave Blackstone, now! No, I can't. Kalitsa rasped through teeth clenched so hard her jaw ached. I cannot flee now. They think that it's Lord Veyron's child. I'm safe. They already suspect you. The words hit like a physical blow. Kalitsa stumbled, catching herself against a pillar, her breath coming in shallow gasp. No, they couldn't possibly. I just heard them. Seraphina tastes death on her tongue. She knows. And when they discover that she has no drop of blood in her body, and you just exhibited that foolish act at the Queen's throne, who do you think they will think drained her? She hadn't thought about that. Ella's blue eyes, rimmed in red, studying her with that cold, calculating intensity. Ian's hand drifting toward his blade. Seraphina's nostrils flaring as she scented death in the air. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear you're sorry. You did exactly exactly what I told you not to do. To not call attention to yourself. It was this baby that craves blood, and it hits at the wrong moments. You should have contained yourself. You have to leave now. There must be some way. She stumbled over to her bed, clutching her abdomen as another wave of pain surged through her, sharper this time, deeper, like claws raking the inside of her womb. She slid down the door until she was sitting on the floor, her gown pulling around her, her breath coming in ragged sobs that had nothing to do with tears and everything to do with the agony tearing through her core. The room was dark, only the faint crimson glow of moonlight filtering through high windows, casting long shadows across the floor. And then the mirror awakened. It hung on the far wall, tall and ancient, its frame carved with serpents and thorns and symbols older than memory. For a split second it remained dark, still, waiting, and then the surface rippled like water, disturbed by something rising from the depths. Morwen's reflection exploded into existence, not gradually, not gently, but all at once, like something bursting through a barrier that should have never been crossed. Her hair was a mass of writhing shadow and serpents that coiled and twisted around her shoulders, hissing and striking at the air. Her eyes burned green, not the soft green of spring leaves, but the sick, venomous green of poisoning light, of swamp gas, of things that glowed in the dark places of the world where nothing living should go. Her face was beautiful and terrible all at once, ageless, flawless, carved from pale marble that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. Her voice did not echo. It vibrated, like the bones of the castle itself were trembling under the weight of her fury. Idiot girl! The sound crashed through the chamber like thunder, rattling the windows, making the candles flicker and die. There was a tap upon the balcony door. It opened, and Nixroth flew in. He called, "Stupid move, stupid move." "Shut up!" Calypso clenched, pressing back against the wooden door, her blood-slick eyes widening in fear. She had never heard Morwen this angry. Not even when she'd first proposed the impossible plan. Not even when she'd confessed to murdering Evangeline. You think you have it all figured out, don't you? You were to keep the pregnancy hidden. Morwen spat, her voice dripping with venom. Each word was precise, controlled, but beneath it lurked something wild, something barely unleashed. You were to remain quiet, controlled, and unseen. And instead, you bring the attention of the queen, her consort, her seer, and her witch. The serpents in Morwen's hair hissed louder, their forked tongues flicking out to taste the air. Shh. Calypso's jaw trembled. I couldn't help it, she gasped, her voice breaking. The pain, the hunger. My child, my child, my heir. Morin's voice rose like a shriek from the deepest depths of some forgotten hell. Thunder cracked against the mirror's surface, spiderwebbing across the glass in thin, glowing lines. The serpents writhed violently across the witch's shoulders, crawling out of the mirror, slithering across the floor, winding up Kalitsa's arm and wrapping itself around her throat. Its scales gleaming like oil in the torchlight. You were to keep him secret until the time was right. Morwenth continued, her voice dropping to something lower, more dangerous. The snake continued to coil around Kalitsa's neck until he was born, until he was strong, until we were ready. Now they see your sickness, your weakness. Now they will watch you, question you, and they will hunt you. Kalitsa braced her hands on the cold stone floor, her nails digging into the serpent, trying to pull it away as another contraction seized her abdomen. A guttural animal sound tore from her throat, half scream, half growl. Get this thing up from around my throat! I'm starving! She whispered, her voice raw and desperate. I can't breathe! Morwenth! The hunger was unbearable now, and her breath was being cut off by the serpent. Come to me. Uncoil and come to me. Slowly, the serpent began to release its hold. Kalitsa could breathe. Morwenth's lips curled into something that might have been a smile, if it hadn't been so cold, so calculating, so utterly devoid of warmth. Change your plans. You will leave tonight. Go and lock your door. I can't get up. Nixroth, lock the door! Nixroth immediately bounded to the door and locked it with his beak. They will know. We must take another path. I could stay here. You will not stay here. You will leave. Right now, Evangeline's loving groom, and he did love her terribly. He's lost so many wives. She brought a smile to his face after centuries of sadness. He wants to investigate it. He wants to find out what was wrong with her. So you see, you cannot stay here. That little thing that you did, they will all know now. Because when she is examined, her body will not contain one drop of blood. You have made quite a mess for yourself, Lady Veyron. And once again, I am having to clean up your messes. I am so hungry. Then take it. Kalitsa's head snapped up, blood still dripping from her nose, her eyes wide and wild. What? Open your door. Kalitsa hesitated, her hand hovering over the handle. Someone might open it! The command crashed through her mind like a physical force, and her body moved before her conscious mind could catch up. She staggered to her feet, gripping the door handle with trembling fingers, unlocked it. She paused, listening. And then she heard it, a knock. Soft, nervous, almost apologetic. Lady Veyron? A girl's voice, young and uncertain. Kalitsa recognized it immediately. It was Sylvie, one of her personal attendants. A shy girl, barely 20, with soft brown hair and gentle eyes that always looked like they were on the verge of tears. Loyal. Trusting. Kalitsa looked toward the mirror. Another girl? Do it. My son must feed. Lady Veyron, may I come in? I only wanted to check on you. After what happened in the hall, you looked so unwell. I was worried. Kalitsa didn't answer. She didn't need to. Behind her, reflected in the mirror, Morin's smile widened. A predator watching prey walk willingly into the trap. Feed the child, she purred. Kalitsa's fingers tightened on the handle. Her breath steadied, her vision sharpened. The hunger roared. She opened the door. Sylvia stood in the corridor, her hands clasped nervously in front of her, her eyes wide with concern. She wore a simple gray dress, a hair pulled back into a loose braid. She looked so small, so fragile, so alive. Oh, my lady, you look... She stepped inside without waiting for permission, concern overtaking her natural hesitation. Let me grab you a cloth. Your nose, your eyes, please. Let me fetch the physician again. Kalitsa lunged. No warning, no hesitation, no mercy. Her hand shot out like a striking serpent, fingers wrapping around the girl's throat with inhuman strength. Sylvie's eyes went wide with shock as Kalitsa slammed her backward, driving her to the floor with brutal force. The impact knocked the air from Sylvie's lungs in a choked gasp. My lady! Please! Kalitsa didn't hear her. Didn't see the tears forming in the girl's dark brown eyes. Didn't register the way Sylvie's fingers clawed weakly at her wrist, trying desperately to pry away the iron grip, crushing her windpipe. All Kalitsa saw was red. All she felt was hunger. Her fangs dropped, long, sharp, gleaming white in the moonlight. Sylvie's scream was short, cut off almost before it began. The feeding was not. Kalitsa bit down hard, her fangs piercing the front of the girl's throat with a wet, tearing sound that echoed obscenely in the quiet chamber. Hot blood flooded her mouth, rich, sweet, perfect, and she drank greedily, desperately, like someone who'd been wandering the desert for days, finally finding water. The warmth spread through her immediately, radiating out from her core like liquid fire. The terrible gnawing emptiness in her abdomen began to feel. The roaring in her ears slowly died down to a distant hum. Sylvie's body jerked beneath her. Once. Twice. Her fingers twitching weakly against the stone floor. And then, stillness. Kalitsa drank until there was nothing left to take, and the blood that was on the floor, she lapped it up with her hand and licked it. Until the girl's heart gave one final futile flutter, and fell silent. Until her skin turned cold and waxy beneath Kalitsa's hands. Only then did she pull back, gasping, blood dripping from her chin and staining the front of her gown in dark, spreading patterns. She knelt over the body for a long moment, breathing hard, her hand still pressed against Sylvie's shoulders. Slowly, so slowly, her vision cleared. The red haze lifted. Her eyes returned to their natural emerald green, bright and sharp and fully aware. There now. You feel better? Warmth radiated through her belly, gently and soothing. The child was satisfied. For now. Kalitsa looked down at what she'd done. You do know that his hunger will only continue to grow. More and more and more. So, you cannot stay here. Kalitsa looked at Sylvie's eyes, stared up at nothing, glass and empty, just like Evangeline. Her mouth hung slightly open, frozen mid-gasp. Her throat was a ruin of torn flesh and dried blood, and Kalitsa felt nothing. No guilt, no horror, no remorse, only cold, calculating satisfaction. She had fed, she had survived. That was all that mattered. She stood slowly, wiping the blood from her mouth with the back of her hand, and turned to face the mirror. Morwenth was still there, watching with ancient, predatory anger. Her smile was wide now, too wide, stretching her face in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Good, she crooned, her voice dripping with sudden approval. Very good. You see now, don't you, that you cannot stay. Kalitsa said nothing. She simply stared at her reflection, at the blood staining her lips, her chin, her throat, at the cold fire burning in her eyes, at the slight swell of her abdomen, where her future heir to Morwenth's dark legacy grew stronger with every passing moment. Now listen to me, Kalitsa Veyron, Morwenth continued, her tone sharpening once more. Flee Blackstone tonight. I will cause a spell to happen. Tonight, the crimson moon will go dark. No one will see you leave. You take nothing with you. You go to your estate and you stay there until the child is born. You will not go to the estate that Ella thinks you are going to. You will go to another one, further away. Do not draw attention. Do not engage. She leaned closer to the mirror, her green orbs burning with terrible intensity. You have failed me twice. Kalitsa straightened her gown, smoothed back her hair, and met Morwenth's gaze without flinching. I will leave, she whispered, her voice colder than the frost gathering on the windows, harder than the stone beneath her feet. Her hand slid protectively over her stomach, fingers splaying across the fabric. And when I return, don't tell me what you will do. You seem to think that you are still in control. Wait until you have a sky of vampires chasing after you. Who will be in charge then? You did a very stupid thing. When the moon goes black, you are to leave. Carry nothing with you. Nyx Roth will accompany you. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. Then prepare. The storm outside Blackstone Castle deepened, snow falling in crimson sheets that clung to windows like blood-soaked silk. Wind rattling ancient shutters with skeletal fingers. The red moon casting long, twisted shadows across the stone floors that writhed and stretched like living things. Ella stood in the center of her private solar, her black cloak pulled around her feet like spilled ink. The firelight caught the blue of her eyes, rimmed in red, making them glow with an otherworldly intensity. Ian paced before the hearth, his jaw tight, silver eyes flicking with controlled theory. Every few steps he would pause, stare into the flames, then resume his restless prowling like a caged wolf. Seraphina lingered near the tall windows, hands clasped before her, her ageless features strained in a way that spoke of centuries of accumulated dread, finally finding focus. Neera stood with her arms crossed, dark eyes sharp and calculating, her fingers strumming a nervous rhythm against her forearm. The scent of blood and shattered glass still clung to the castle like fog that wouldn't lift. Evangeline's scream, that terrible, inhuman shriek, echoed through all of them, through their bones, through their memories, through the very stones of Blackstone itself. And then there was a knock on the door. A guard answered. It was Evangeline's groom. "I want to speak to the Queen." Let him enter. Baleen walked in and immediately demanded, "I want answers! I want answers! Something is not right with Evangeline. Something is not right. I want answers, and you shall have them." Ella's voice was soft, dangerously soft, but sharp enough to cut through still. Ian walked over to Baleen. He turned him toward him, his hands resting on the palm of his sword, as if the mere act of touching the weapon brought him comfort. "We all saw the way that she moved," he said quietly, his voice rough with barely suppressed rage. "It was not natural. No vampire, no being moves with such disjointed ferocity. It was like..." He paused, searching for the answers. Seraphina spoke up, like someone was pulling her strings. Neera's eyes darkened, her pupils dilating as if trying to see something invisible in the air between them. "Yes," she whispered, her voice hoarse, as if her will was not her own, as if something else was wearing her skin like a costume. Seraphina lifted her chin, her gaze fixed on the swirling red snow beyond the glass. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of countless winters. All morning, up until the time of the wedding, and even beyond that, there has been a smell of death on her. She murmured, each word falling like stone into still water. The moment that she entered the hall, I smelled it. Something wrong, something old, something that does not belong under this roof. That should not walk in the light of the crimson moon. Ella swallowed hard. dread creeping like frost up her throat, tightening around her windpipe. "I don't understand," Evangeline Scroom said. "She was fine just days ago." His voice was trembling, despite his efforts to control it. "She was happy and excited. She was looking forward to her wedding. She spoke of her gown, her vows, her future to me. She wanted..." Ella's breath hitched. "My lord, something twisted her, hollowed her out, and filled her with something else. And I can promise you now that we will find out what it was and who did it. And it happened under our roof," Ian growled, slamming his fist against the mantel. The impact sent vibrations through the stone. "Under our protection. That makes this kingdom look weak. That makes us look weak." Nira's voice drifted into the chamber like smoke curling from a snuff candle. "There are magics that can hollow a being out," she said slowly, carefully, as if speaking the words that themselves carried danger. "Old magics, forbidden magics, the kind that were buried with the witch queens of the First Age." "Witch queens?" Ella said, questioning. Her gaze flickered toward Seraphina. "Do you know something of this?" "Yes." "Who are they?" "They're beyond Blackstone. They're beyond the Baron. They were cast into the caves many, many centuries ago." "Do you think that one of these witch queens did this?" "None of them should be able to enter Blackstone unless invited." The word hung in the air like a noose. Ella's blue eyes lifted sharply, fixing on Nira with laser focus. "What do you see, Nira?" "You believe that someone used her, controlled her, made her into something that she was not." "I believe it's deeper than that. I believe that someone wore her. Like a glove. Like a mask. Used her body as a vessel while her soul screamed somewhere deep inside." The room fell deathly silent. Only the cracking of the fire and the howling wind filled the space. She walked up to Evangeline's groom. "Valine, I make a solemn vow to you right now. I will find who did this." One small tear leaked from his eye. Ella had never seen a vampire cry before. "We will speak more in the morning," she said firmly, though uncertainty flickered behind her eyes. "But one thing must be done now." She looked to the guard waiting by the door, a young man, tense and pale, his hand trembling slightly on the hilt of his sword. "Send for the physician," Ella commanded, her voice ringing with royal authority. "I want a thorough examination of Lady Evangeline's body. Now. I want to know exactly what happened to her. Mind, body, and blood. Every detail, no matter how small, no matter how disturbing. Ian's expression hardened into something cold and lethal. And if someone meddled with her, if this was murder dressed as madness, Ella's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than any shout. Then that person shall be hunted to the ends of the earth. And when we find them, she didn't finish. She didn't need to. While the Queen's Council whispered and argued and pieced together fragments of terrible truth, Kalitza Veyron stood in her chamber, staring down at Sylvie's corpse. The girl's body lay sprawled on the floor where Kalitza had dropped her, pale, drained, and empty. Her eyes staring at nothing, her mouth hung open in a silent scream that would never be heard. I suppose I should hide you, but no. I'll leave you here. Blood stained the stone beneath her in dark, spreading pool that reflected the moonlight like a black mirror. No, I should hide you. She locked her chamber door tightly, took the girl, and shoved her into her wardrobe. Her hands trembled, but not with guilt, not with horror, but with the aftershocks of satisfaction. The blood rage had subsided into warm, heavy contentment in her belly. Her son had fed. The terrible gnawing hunger had been sated for now. But as Kalitza stood there, breathing hard, her mind still riding the high of the kill, the mirror behind her rippled. Morwen's reflection exploded into view with such violent force that the glass cracked spiderwebbing across the surface in glowing green lines. Are you ready? Yes, I do. They are about to find out who you are. What? Oh, yes. Yes, there is a congregation in Queen Ella's solar. She's getting ready to have the body examined. What I predicted is about to come true. The groom is beside himself, shedding a tear. Vampires don't cry. So, he must have truly loved her. The only thing that matters in this is the child. We must be careful. When are you going to make the moon go black? In my time. You carry my heir, my future, my vengeance made flesh for what they did to me. That child is worth more all the gold of the cursed kingdom, more than your comfort, more than your life. She extended one long, pale finger pointing directly at Kalitza's abdomen. You will leave this chamber but nothing but the clothes on your back and the raven on your shoulder. You will fly from this castle when I say you will not stop, you will not rest. You will return to your estate and you will hide until the child is born. Will they not be able to get in? I will take care of that. Oh, Kalitza, you do not know who you are dealing with, do you? I am a witch queen. The queen of all witches. My power is more than you could ever fathom. They will hunt me. Let them try. Morin's smile was cold and sharp as a blade. By the time they realize you've fled, you'll be leagues away. It will be pitch dark without the moon. By the time they piece together what you've done, you will be gone. And by the time that they come for you, you will be untouchable. Kalitza looked once more around her chamber, at everything she was leaving behind, at the life she built, at the power she'd accumulated, and then she looked down at her stomach, at the slight swell where the future grew. The choice was obvious. Kalitza moved toward the mirror and bowed to the Witch Queen. The great hall had fallen into a reverent, terrible silence. Everyone had been ushered out. Nobles, servants, guards, leaving only a handful of soldiers standing watch at the doors, and the royal physician bent over Evangeline's still body. He worked slowly, carefully, methodically, opening eyelids to examine clouded pupils, testing joints for rigor mortis, pressing his fingers against pulse points already cold as winter stone. The bride's body lay on the marble floor, exactly where it had fallen, while her white gown spread around her like broken wings. Her golden hair fanned across the stone, face turned toward the shattered window, as if still trying to escape. Beautiful, even in death, but wrong. So terribly, impossibly wrong. The physician frowned, his weathered face creasing with confusion. He spread his fingers against her neck. Nothing. Against her wrist. Nothing. Against the inside of her elbow. Nothing. He then saw a green vein on her face. He leaned closer, his breath misting in the cold air. He pressed harder against her shoulder, her neck, her inner arm, feeling for the subtle swell of veins, the faint give of blood-filled vessels, and then his face blanched. His hands began to shake. "No," he whispered. "No, that's impossible." He leaned even closer, his nose nearly touching her skin. He pressed against her forearm with trembling fingers. The skin was tight, dry, empty. Completely, horrifyingly empty. He fumbled for his lantern with shaking hands and held it over her body, illuminating the pale, translucent skin in harsh golden light. The veins beneath, normally dark blue or purple, visible beneath the surface, were flat and green, collapsed, like empty riverbeds after a drought. He lifted her wrist with both hands and squeezed gently. No blood beaded at the puncture wound in her throat. No fluid moved beneath the surface. No pressure built against his fingers. Nothing. Gods preserve us. She was drained. His breath hitched as he stumbled backward, knocking over a stool. It clattered against the marble, a sound like breaking bones. The guards stiffened, hands flying to their weapons. "What did you find?" one demanded, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. The physician could barely speak. His lips moved soundlessly for a moment before words finally emerged, broken, horrified, disbelieving. She, there's no blood left in her. She was drained dry. Look at the marks." The room seemed to inhale sharply, as if the castle itself had drawn breath. "What do you mean?" The guard pressed, stepping closer. "I mean," the physician swallowed hard, his throat working convulsively. "I mean that she is completely drained. Every vein, every vessel, every single drop of blood has been taken from that poor girl's body. She is... He gestured helplessly at the corpse. She is an empty shell. A husk. There is nothing inside her. Silence fell like a shroud. Then a soldier whispered, his voice shaking. Then how was she standing? How was she speaking? How was she... He couldn't finish. Couldn't bring himself to say it. How was she dancing and talking? The physician's face was ash white, his eyes wide and glassy with the kind of terror that comes from understanding that should not be understood. She wasn't, he said simply. The words hung in the air like a curse. She wasn't alive. Not during the ceremony, not during the feast, not when she... His voice broke. This is sorcery. This is necromancy. Someone was puppeting her corpse. Someone was... He couldn't continue. He turned and staggered toward the door, nearly tripping over his own robes in his haste. I must tell the Queen. Immediately. This is an abomination. This is... He broke into a run, his footsteps echoing through the empty hall as he sprinted up the grand staircase toward Ella's Sola, his voice echoing down the stone corridors in a rising, desperate cry. Your Majesty! Your Majesty! It's Evangeline! Something is terribly wrong! She's been drained! She's been dead! The words bounced off ancient stones, carried through shadowed hallways, reached ears that had been waiting, dreading to hear them. And in her Sola, Queen Ella Snow rose slowly to her feet, her blue eyes blazing with cold fury. She knew. Find Kalitza Veyron, she said quietly, her voice carrying absolute authority, remembering the blood rage, the insane rage. Now! And that is the reading of Crimson Queen. My stories burrow deep, where they cannot flee. And in the darkest corridors of your nightmares, you belong to me. You do.